Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time of the day you're watching us from. It's about midday today, where I am in Nairobi, Kenya, and I want to thank you for joining us. Welcome you to Papa Bear. We are here again to have continued conversations about fatherhood, about things to do with masculinity, and how we can foster the growth and development of the next generation. That's what we do as fathers. That's what we're here to talk about. So today I have a continuation of a topic that we started a few days ago. So there's another video you should have a look at, which shows what we started talking about. And we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation about something that we don't really talk much about death. And African culture, we don't talk much about death because we believe it's inviting it. If we talk about it, we're inviting it. And as a result, a lot of unnecessary trouble happens because we don't prepare ourselves adequately for death. I was saying in the last video that I lost a friend of mine about a week or so ago, and he was a perfectly healthy guy, just like me, about my age. We were classmates in university, and one day he just died. No indications. He was not sick. He just passed on, and it really got me thinking about what my legacy is and what are some of the things that I'm preparing myself for regarding death. And it's an uncomfortable conversation because we don't like to talk about it. We don't like to think of ourselves as being mortal, but that's just the reality. And you'll see what we're talking about in the last video. But today I want to talk about something that's very practical, very tangible, and that's the issue around succession. Now, when we think about succession, we think about old people leaving a lot of money for their children. And we think of people in their 70s, 80s, 90s passing on and leaving stuff for their kids. And that is true, that's part of it. But succession is a lot more than that. And it starts a lot sooner than waiting until you're in your 70s. And that's what I want to talk about. Succession doesn't necessarily have to be the very end of your life. You can actually prepare for it in advance. And there are videos that we've put up on the channel that talk a bit more about succession and some of the conversations that we've had with other guests around the succession issue. But I just want to point out maybe two or three things that I think would be necessary for us. Number one, we need to know what it is that we have available. What is it that we're passing on? When we say we're preparing ourselves for succession, what exactly is it that we have that other people can inherit? So it's important to do an inventory of all your assets, all the things that you own. And you have to make sure that in addition to preparing the list, you have to make sure that those assets are properly owned, right? So if you have a plot of land somewhere in Sokimau, you've never done the transfer, it's still in the name of the seller, and there's all this other stuff that hasn't been done, that's not your property. You have to be able to organize all of that. So the first thing we need to do is do an inventory, and we make sure that what we have, what we think is in our name, is properly constituted or is legally owned by us. It's the first thing that we need to do as men. So go out there, look at all the things that you own, and make sure that everything is correctly owned and is properly in the right ownership. If the stuff that belongs to the bank, just make sure that everything is clear and you know what the status of everything is. Now, once you have that, that leads you to the second step, which is to do a will. Now, the will is essentially your statement of what you want to be done with your assets once you pass on. Again, wills are just like death. We don't talk about it because we feel it's an invitation to bad luck or ill will or something nasty happening. But we need to prepare ourselves. So you need to write a will. You need to go to a lawyer, and you don't even have to go to a lawyer actually. And that the video that we did last time shows that. We did a video with a legal expert, and they told us you don't have to necessarily be with a lawyer to write a will, but you do need to document it, like on paper, and write it down and say, this is what I want done. Based on your earlier list or inventory of your assets, you can say that these are the assets that I have and this is how I want them distributed when I'm gone. So you have to make sure that you have your will in place. It has to be witnessed. It has to be put. It has to be people who. So wills can be contested because the state of mind can be challenged, but your state of mind cannot be called into question if you have a witness who was there to see the signature or the will being done. So make sure that you have a will in place. If you need it done by a lawyer, you can do so, but just have it done in the right way. And then thirdly, that is the third thing, is the issue of what I'm calling trustees, or people who will take care of your family when you're gone. You need to make sure that you have somebody in place. So it could be a trusted friend, it could be a lawyer who you work with, it could be one of your siblings, but somebody who can then be entrusted with the execution of your wishes after you pass on. Could be your spouse. But because of the mental and the emotional anguish that death causes, your spouse might not be in the right position, at least initially, to be able to handle some of these things. So think about who it is who can be your trustee. I'm calling him trustee. I don't think that's a legal term, but it's basically somebody who holds that position for you upon your demise. Think about it. Have that conversation with that person. It's uncomfortable, but have the conversation, because then that helps you to prepare yourself and to prepare them as well for the inevitability. So those are three things I think that we need to really think through when we think about death and succession. Do an inventory, make sure your documents are in order, make sure everything is in order. That's what they call putting your affairs in order. That's what it means. Then do a will, make sure that you have all your documents in place. Make sure that you have an actual will in place for you to be able to do that. And then thirdly, appoint somebody or have a conversation with somebody who can then be a trustee or take care of these things for you. And I think when we talk about this in the next video, we're going to talk a bit more about things around relationships and how we can build these relationships to ensure that things are smooth for our families after we pass on. So I know it's an uncomfortable conversation. It's not an easy thing to hear, but we need to prepare ourselves, guys. That's what it means to be a dad. That's what it means to be preparing or to take care of your family. That's what it means to be an adult, really. So yeah, let me know what you think about this video. Hit me up in the comments. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video. Like it. Let's have this conversation going. Let people know. Let's have. It's uncomfortable. I get it, but it's something that we need to talk about. So yeah, thanks again, and have a good day. Cheers.